I'm going to show you one of the most simple pastas in the world right now. First thing we're going to do is pop our spaghetti in there. Actually, before that, we're just going to season the water. We're going to add a little bit of olive oil. That just helps the pasta from sticking, you know, when it gets into big clumps like that, especially with spaghetti. So just pop them in there like that. And then just as it starts to set, just double them over and make sure all those strands fall inside the pot. And what you want to do at this stage, crucially with spaghetti, is you want to just use your tongs or a spoon and just make sure it's moved around, because there's nothing worse than having those big lumps of pasta all stuck together. Now the beauty of this dish is that you'll cook everything for the sauce in the time that it takes to cook that spaghetti. So the first thing we're going to do is a breast of chicken, nice and thin slices so it cooks pretty fast. And this really is one of the healthiest pasta dishes you could ever have. There's not much fat in there. It's pure chicken breast, it's pasta. So if you're going out for a run, if you're going to the gym, if you're playing sports, eat this a couple of hours in advance. You'll have loads of carbs, protein, and you'll be absolutely packed full of energy. So trim them up nice and small. And I think it's really important in this day and age to find loads of little dishes that you can make in 10 or 15 minutes, because people just don't have time anymore. This is definitely one of them. So garlic. Nice fine dice, and at this stage we're just going to go with a generous amount of olive oil, and we're on a sort of a low to medium heat here because we want to really extract the flavour out of the garlic and out of the onions, which I'm going to dice in a second. So pop that garlic in. Also going with a fine dice of onion. So just make incisions and then cut 3/4 of the way back into the onion. And we're looking for quite a fine dice here. In goes your onion. Now at this stage, it's also a good idea to just move that pasta around again. And like I was saying, you don't want it to be stuck in big lumps, so just give it a little shake, loosen it up. Now, prepping rosemary. This is going to be one of the strongest flavors in the dish. Just sort of run your hand along, and what you're going to end up with is just those little leaves. That stalk there is too hard. You don't want to ever include that in any recipe. Now, just scrumple those together. Now, we're just looking for a really small dice. The rosemary is quite sort of woody as a herb, so you really want to make sure it's nice and fine. Don't even think of substituting this for dried rosemary or anything like that. The dish just won't work. It really relies on the sort of the freshness of the ingredients, the strong garlic, the rosemary, so make sure it's fresh. Now, fine dice, in that goes. Lovely. Also, exactly the same thing with the thyme, so just grab those leaves, run your hand along it again. Again, make sure it's fresh thyme, absolutely no substitute for it. Once you've got all those little pieces, just give them a rough chop. And in that goes as well. I'm getting such strong aromas. That's really the rosemary, the garlic, because it's cooking slowly, the rosemary is releasing all its natural oils. And at this stage you can see it's taken on no colour. We're just going to add the chicken in there. And we just want to brown that up really slowly and make sure the chicken sort of absorbs all those lovely flavours from the fragrant ingredients. So that should take about 2 or 3 minutes. Now that's been on there for about 3 or 4 minutes. I'm getting the lovely, lovely aromas. Absolutely packed full of flavour. I've strained the pasta. Now, very important with the pasta, you want to keep that tiny little bite in it. If you're not sure, just pull it out a couple of minutes early and check it. That's still got the tiniest little crunch in the middle, which means it's perfectly al dente. A couple of things I want to add to the sauce. A little bit of butter. Now, if you're on a super health kick, just leave the butter out. There's no harm in that. It just gives it a lovely glaze, the pasta, and a nice nutty sort of taste. We'll drop the pasta in on top. It sort of annoys me when people bring out pasta and it's on the bottom and then they pour the sauce over the top. I think pasta should be coated evenly with the sauce all over. That's the real appeal for me. Just season it up with a generous amount of salt. Now at this stage, another little touch that you could add, I'm not adding it today, but you could add some freshly grated Parmesan, some Pecorino, any cheese that you wanted. That would just sort of really bring it together nicely. So just toss that all together. Really is such a simple dish. It's nothing spectacular. It doesn't take any amazing techniques, but believe me, it's packed full of flavour. It's really, really good for you as well, which is always a winner, and it's quick to prepare. So that's been tossed together. Now, just start with a little bit of pasta on the bottom, and then your lovely chicken. Now, that chicken's going to be bursting full of flavour because of the lovely pungent rosemary, the garlic in there. Top it goes. Shave a little bit of cheese over the top, and I think you'll admit that it's one of the quickest, simplest, tastiest pasta dishes you'll ever see.